Hello, everybody, and welcome to our after church tea time. I'm Granville Campbell, and I'd like my teammates to introduce themselves, and then we'll carry on from there.
Yeah, hi Granville. We are Eve and
Hello.
Lara. We're happy to join you and discuss, the sermon from today.
Awesome. Thank you for joining
Mhm.
us. And thank you to everybody else for joining us. Please also feel free to share your input, any questions, any comments that you have related to the sermon by Adam and Brianne on dissolving your fear of love. So I think something that that stood out for me is the fact that, almost at the end of their sermon, they shared that actually the fear of love didn't exist in the first place. And it was quite interesting, right? Because I feel like for me, it's always a learning process. Because sometimes what I think the upset isn't actually the upset, or conversely, the upset wasn't as big as what I thought it was. So I kind of feel like this was a well-timed sermon in that it just kind of requires me to again take a step back. And I think that's the nice thing about all the sermons that are shared in the Church of Union is that it just kind of allows us to take stock and pay attention again. So yeah, I'm going to open it up to everybody else and see how you felt. What was the key message that stood out for you?
Yeah, maybe I can share because for me the sermon was also very healing. And it is really every time when we listen to a sermon and there's like a different person sharing like the healing experience or the insights, I find it so relieving and healing that we like all walk this path together and we all have in a way similar experiences. And what stood out for me was when they shared like the truth about triggers, that we don't have to fear the triggers, that this is like when we invite something. And they had this little story from Jeff when he was inviting deeper love, deeper romance, that it is always like the nature of this path, that then like things will come up and we do not have to fear them. And I think this is something we always have to remind ourselves, like every time we choose something, choose to dive deeper into love or greater success or something, that this is like the nature of this path. Like more fears will come up, more triggers will be there, and to face them, yeah, without fear.
Yeah, and that's like really that we stop ourselves from like receiving the love, not
Mhm.
like there is any external problem that's going on. It's just we holding on to a wrong belief about if we're not good enough or if we are
Mhm.
worthy, if we deserve it, no matter what's going on, there is always like a fear that stops us when we do not allow the fear to get resolved through the mirror exercise, that we're just holding ourselves back from the love we actually deserve from God, and that most of the time on this journey, we are stopping ourselves from like
Mhm.
achieving what we want to have, or being mad or frustrated over what any challenge is coming up or any upset with the twin flame. We have always the power like to move through the fear and do not need to give it that much power, because actually there is not much power in fear, only that like we will feel bad when we feed the fear.
Mhm.
So it's actually really safe to face all your fears and just move through them step after step, one fear that comes up after the other, one upset after the other, until we are there where we want to be. But it's actually a really safe journey
Mhm.
to move through your fears, and that there is nothing you need to be afraid of.
Yeah, and yeah, to just go off that, I think what I took the most from this is that just how safe it is to go into fear and to be fearless in that space, because it's just the fear that's creating this like central upset, and this maybe it's projecting into these different avenues of your life. um And it's really important to just know that it's just maybe a projection of your lack of belief in the truth of your perfection, right? That you are divine. And yeah, I think that's like the big piece that I was taking in today's sermon was just, and this is what I've been moving through too, like that it's not like it's not what's physical that's like so intense in your life. It's like what you're actually feeling is what's, creating that physical intensity, whether it's um something that's real or not real. And so when it feels intense and it feels like it's overbearing, it's actually because you're creating something with your feelings. And then you're physically experiencing this thing that feels like you can't overcome it or you can't find a balance, with others in it or however that looks. It's really just, let yourself feel into what's uncomfortable or what feels confusing because there will be clarity. There always will be. And the only thing that is clear is beyond what you feel or what you think, or you have to let yourself go in there. And yeah, that's kind of what I took from today is like it's safe to go there. It's safe to be in that space.
I love what all of you have shared because I feel like it's kind of the almost foundational piece, right? The foundational piece of being safe to go into that space. Because if we think about what fear is, it gives us this perception that something is not safe. And so if it's not safe, we might not want to go into that space. We might want to try and avoid it because we believe that there's some type of threat in that space. And so when you highlight that actually it is okay, it is safe, it can't hurt you, it gives the feeling of more comfort that you can't be hurt exploring your feelings. And I think that's something that stood out for me in the sermon was the fact that your feelings are safe to go into, regardless of what the perception may be. And I wanted to draw that connection because I have in the past found myself avoiding things because I feel like it's not safe. But it's exactly the thing that I need to confront in order to move through it. And I think it's something that Adam and Brienne shared, it's something that Carmel shared as well, is the thing that you want tends to be also the thing that you might be avoiding, and that's actually kind of the path. That's the route. That's where your next piece or breakthrough comes from. So yeah, I wanted to open that up and see how you guys have kind of experienced that perception of not feeling safe in certain things and the healing that you've experienced when you've actually moved through it.
Yeah, we can share a bit about it because this is like Adam and Brienne shared, they had like this block before HTFU and it was abandonment. And I feel even I have this with safety, really feeling safe on earth, feeling safe in our union, feeling safe in relationships. And this is something we like continuously working through and getting better and better. And it's a lot about building trust, like the 8 keys of harmonious union. And yeah, it needs some time building trust with the process, building trust with God, with love itself, then with your twin flame as well in the relationship. And yeah, it's like through the inner work, through building stability with the mirror exercise, with the work itself. I feel this is what gives us the safety. Yeah.
Yeah, my experience was it can of course be scary when you move to your darkest fear, but most of the time in my experience, whenever I go into places where I'm feeling really fearful or where I feel hurt, maybe from my experience in life, what actually is going to happen in my reality whenever I move through it, I feel way better. And on the other side, I receive the gift from my healing through some way, through a miracle, I would say, what actually is on the other side and what God has in place for me. And you can't even imagine if you try to think this out, you do not even need to do it, because what God has for you in the pocket is always better than what you can imagine out of it. So the gift you get from moving through your fears is basically the love God has for you. And this is for everyone unique, because everyone has their own unique relationship with God. So everyone will receive their best through moving through their fears, but there is a price we have to pay for, and the price is just being willing to move through the challenge, through the fear, through the feelings, all what's coming up, every step on the way we need to face, that we can receive what is truly meant for us.
Yeah, I love what you guys are sharing. And what I feel as well is about that abandonment thing. Um, I feel like I've struggled with that a lot, is like this fear of abandonment. And if I'm going to love myself, if I'm going to give myself all of that love there, is it worth it? Is it worth it to love myself? I think that has been a worldly view that I've struggled with, that love is actually worth it, and that I guess, worthy of living in harmonious union. So I've kind of played this, game with life, where I was letting my thoughts kind of just spew into my life and just leak my energy, and, you know, confuse myself and manipulate myself and judge myself and do all these things to myself that don't actually like love me. And yeah, it's really been like coming up to this core place now where it's like, do you love yourself? Do you choose to love yourself and be with yourself forever? And yeah, it's been challenging, but it's worth it. And I feel more and more relief, because I'm like dissecting that place where I've just been lying to myself and actually just wearing a mask and trying to hold myself in this space that doesn't exist. And yeah, it's just because I've been afraid to just be specifically with God over everything else. And I've been dependent on this thought process to like lead me somewhere, in the same sense of knowing that it's not, and so it's just been a weird fog and continuation of, yeah, self-abandonment. And so, yeah, that's a big piece that I'm clearing. And I feel like a lot of like weird things have like come up on my journey because of it. And like, I'm just getting clear, like, this is why this, like, it's been weird, because I've been choosing that. I've been choosing confusion. I've been choosing to gaslight myself. I've been choosing to not accept who I am. And so, and I still don't know who I am. Like, I'm learning who I am. And that's another aspect of it. Like, there's a deep piece of me that is like clueless about who I am, and that's okay. But there's also a big part of me who knows who I am. And that's the part of me that I can honor and continue to trust, that I'll reveal those spaces, and that I don't have to either be completely in this like dark space or completely in this like high purified space. There's a balance, and it's called living and experiencing life. And you're going to have things that come up along the way to stepping into your perfect life. And yeah, I feel like I'm just getting more grounded into that, instead of constantly analyzing everything, constantly thinking about, what is going on in the world, or how I'm perceived, or how I need to be, or like, it's like being, a child again in a lot of ways, and like letting go of this constant pressure that I was taught to put on myself to be someone, right? And so it's like, you are someone, you already are. And it's okay that you're learning that way. And so, yeah, that's kind of my piece there.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's awesome that you shared the piece around the lie that we tell ourselves, because we have been socialized to believe or to use the power of our mind. And we know how powerful your mind is, in that you can literally talk yourself into anything, or you can talk yourself out of anything. And I think that the nice thing about having been on the Ascension journey and truly learning from Jeff and Shaleia is also accepting how important your feelings are in this process. And my biggest thing in my journey has kind of been connecting the head and the heart, because they're both powerful, but they also don't have to be in opposition of each other. So the work for me has been bringing those two pieces into union, for lack of a better phrasing. And I think that for us, for a lot of people, is probably part of the greater part of the journey, is just understanding that, hey, love didn't hurt you. The circumstances that you experienced may have given you a perception of love that is not true. And that untruth is the lie that we kind of need to uproot. And it's the lie that we need to be compassionate about. Because I feel like our biggest work is actually the compassion. So like you said, we know who we are, and we also don't know who we are. And in that space in between, we kind of have to be compassionate and not beat ourselves up for what we do or do not know. Because it's okay to learn. It's safe to learn. It's fun to learn. The fact of the matter is, when you're learning, you don't feel the threat. You don't feel the danger. You are in the space of absorbing things. That's how we learn. And that makes us feel safer than having to know it all. That makes us feel safer than having to have all the answers all the time.
Yeah, when you share this with learning, I feel like you pretty much nailed it. Like, learning is really a nature of like being human. That's pretty natural when we're just looking back at at our childhood. When you're a child, what you're naturally doing is you learn, and you need to learn everything. When you come to Earth, you know nothing, and through our experience in life, I believe this is what most of people have, is that they, and then you're like yeah
Resisting.
resisting the change. You will have a hard
Mhm.
ascension journey, basically, because the ascension journey is all about learning. When you're like, when you met your twin flame, you get invited to learning relationship, and basically also what love really is, at a new level. And you basically start at the point where you feel like, okay, I do not know anything about what a relationship maybe looks like, because with your twin flame, everything changed. What you've learned in a relationship, or only the things which were good in your relationship, you can like bring to the table in the twin flame relationship. So basically, this journey is full about learning, and your twin flame is your perfect teacher that helps you like to learn. And if you resist like this nature of learning and life, then it's can get really
Hard.
or challenging.
Mhm. Yeah, Adam and Brian also shared like change is very natural on your twin flame journey. Like we don't have to resist change, because it is like the result of healing, as we like reprogram our mind and like bring in this new loving thoughts and release the fearful thoughts. we automatically like change ourselves and change our reality. And yeah, we don't have to be fearful about changing. It's the same thing. It's very natural, the same as learning, changing, learning. It's the nature. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And then I think that that's kind of, for me, that's the almost the master key, right? It's the master key in dissolving that perceived fear to love. Because now we're starting to learn that we didn't quite know what love really was. But that doesn't mean that we're bad. And that doesn't mean that our life has been bad. Yes, there may have been bad instances and bad circumstances, but it doesn't make us bad. And if you don't, if you automatically take yourself out of the space of painting yourself with the wrong paintbrush, you're kind of safer. You're kind of learning. You're kind of accepting that it's okay for me to learn what love truly is here. And I feel that is part of what actually dissolves the fear of love because you learn the true nature of love as you're learning on your ascension journey.
Yeah, I love what's being shared here. And yeah, I feel like it's knowing that like it's just separation that you can bring into your twin flame dynamic that is actually what feels bad is you bringing separation into your dynamic. Like if you're not clear on the choice to have union, and I think this is definitely why the teachings are so important, because that's what really showed me was like, hey, like I desire peace. Like that's why I called in these teachings, is because I desired peace in my union, because it was not peaceful. And there was a lot of, conflict and things coming up that I felt like, well, I can't really like figure this out like with my head, and I know that my heart needs to be involved here, but I'm not really sure how to go about this so that we can just have that kind of beauty in our union. And so, yeah, I feel like just knowing that I've had that support and I have a coach as well, it's just made it like so much easier to just be like, okay, like I'm not alone here. And there's actually a teaching now that's helping me to like face this completely and not need to feel like it's this despair, feel like it's this battle, or feel like it's just something that's not going to move into a direction that's actually really good. And yeah, I feel like it is all about your feelings, and it is all about being vulnerable. And I think that that's like something that I was never allowed to be growing up either. And so at least I felt that way, a lot of the time. And I've had to really get clear on like, even as an adult, like you're allowed to be a vulnerable adult. Like you don't have to be this like zombie that like, works in an office and just is super business, whatever. Like I'm 32 years old and I act like a child sometimes, and in a good way. Like I have joy, I have fun, and I'm like, this is okay. It's okay to be this part of myself and not feel like I need to be 32 years old, very,
No.
yeah, like, I don't know. But I feel like I've really learned that, like, it's not as serious, not like it's joy. And that's really what these teachings have brought out of me. And that's what I love about the teachings so much, is that even in the classes where you see how Jeff is just bringing that joy to the class, and like his inner child comes out so much in the class, and it really helps me as a divine masculine, because you don't see divine masculine a lot of the time that are just so embodied in that emotion, in that space of like, I am free, I am emotional, I can express this, I am divine, and you can't tell me otherwise. And that really like saved me in a lot of ways, because I always felt like different because of that. Like I'm an emotional man. And like what does that mean? Like is that true? Like can that be true? And so yeah, I think that's a lot of you see that a lot like on the twin flame journey with the masculine. It's like the masculine is just unawakened, or he's on this like other journey, and that's just not true. I think it's just about knowing that he can be vulnerable, and I think just that you can open up to those spaces where it's safe to express your emotions. It's safe to express your confusion. It's safe to express whatever you need to express in order to find that clear peace that you're looking for. Don't give up on finding that clarity. Like, don't give up on yourself or judge it and hold it so dearly like you need to protect it. You don't. You can let that come up. Let it express itself, because whatever it is awesome, because it's you. And yeah, I think that that's a big thing that I'm learning about myself. Like, whoever I am, everything that I am that is expressing is loving, like we're saying. And if it's loving, it's right. So don't be afraid of love. So
I love
yeah,
that. I love that. And I agree with you that there's always this almost zombified feeling of being in control and being powerful and kind of securing yourself against the world. It's like this feeling of being against, or and that's the projection, right? So you feel like you like things are against you, but when you sit in the final analysis, it's like, actually, well, I'm building up the walls. Like, I am the one that's doing this. And I love that you brought in the sense of release the judgment, because it's very difficult to learn to release the judgment, because we put ourselves in this space where there's all these labels that society has attached to relationships and people and circumstances, and we try to actually like like almost force fit ourselves into all these labels and all these molds. And at the end of the day, what we end up with is a tapestry that is probably nothing like what we are in the first place. And so, as we start to learn about love, we learn, or we have to also unlearn all those places that we've kind of tried to force fit ourselves into these spaces, and like, and I love it, like, people always say the square peg in a round hole kind of thing. And it literally is that, because it doesn't make sense. But it only doesn't make sense if you actually pay attention. If you don't pay attention, you might not necessarily see the incongruence here. But once you pay attention, you start to see where there's a misalignment, and you start to actually just realize, well, hey, it's okay. It's safe to explore. It's safe to change in this space. It's safe to give myself the freedom to unlearn stuff and relearn stuff and learn stuff. And I feel like that in and of itself dissolves a lot of fear. Because what you're doing is learning to love yourself in a way that you probably haven't learned before. And that in and of itself helps you dissolve a fear of love. And again, as we've countless times said, it starts with you. It's what then translates into every other space in your life. It's what actually starts to create and shift your reality.
beautiful. Yeah, I think like what you're saying, like what is it that you're paying attention to? Because if you're paying attention to just like disassociating or holding on to an idea that doesn't feel good, like that's not serving you. It's not giving you anything. And if it's not giving you anything, you don't need to pay attention to it. And yeah, I find myself, still sometimes where I'm like paying attention to others so much that I like forget myself in that. And it's a really not a good place to be. And it's not allowing you to move forward. And so it is all about where are you paying your attention? Because your attention pays you, right? Like it pays you good or it pays you nothing. And yeah, it's so important to focus on where you can bring your attention, or where you desire to have something, have a breakthrough, or have a knowing in your heart. Like you have to pay attention to how you feel in that space, because if you have all these mixed feelings or this like avoidance, your mind is just, that's what your mind is receiving. Like you said, with the mind and the heart, the mind receives whatever the heart is allowing to be felt. And so if you have this blocked heart, you have a blocked consciousness. Your mind is not going to be conscious. And it's so important to know, like, the more that you just go deep into that feeling space, the heart chakra, like we're taught, is your universe. It's your life force. It's where all consciousness lives, is in your heart first. And so if our heart is blocked, then we can't really see clearly. We can't pay attention because we're just fogged out. And yeah, we got to pay attention to that the most, what our heart needs.
Absolutely. And I love that you're sharing that we need to actually pay attention to what our heart needs. And sometimes I almost feel like sometimes it's even a step further back in that, hey, you actually do have a heart and it's okay. And I think that, just some of that also for me has been part of the learning. It's just like, hey, it's okay. It's okay to be deeply feeling, as you shared earlier. It's okay to be deeply feeling. It doesn't take away from you, and it doesn't mean anything negative as we have kind of been conditioned in society. And I feel, like a lot of it is all of that contributes to unlearning things and dissolving that fear of love, because it plays out in so many unusual ways. But again, you have to become aware of those ways in order to realize that they're unusual and that there is a better way. And it's kind of something that you shared earlier, that it's so great to have a coach, and it's great to have the community, and it's great to have Jeff and Shaleia actually showing us the path, because we don't necessarily have that in all instances. Some people have it more than others, but I feel like the illumination of the path is exceptionally important, because we then can choose to walk the path or not, to clear up our consciousness or not. But we kind of, again, coming back to your point, have to be able to see in order to know that there is a path, to know that we can walk along the path, and that we can uproot all the things that are interfering with how we accept love and how we even just perceive love.
Yes, and I feel like just like a final piece is just like, it's safe to know that real learning is felt, is something that you can experience for yourself, because these teachings, a lot of the time what you're learning from these teachings is to walk with God, right? Like for yourself. It's about you and God. It's not about like you and just like taking in information and knowing all the facts, like twin flames or divine masculine and divine feminine. Like that's great. We know that, but you have to let yourself feel that.
Mm.
You have to let yourself find that. That's an experience. That's something that you have to go through for yourself. And that's what I love so much about the teachings, is that they prove themselves through the feeling that you find when you explore them. And so that's the beauty of the teaching, is that it hits you in the feels. It hits you in that space that you have not been hit yet. And you get hit there and you're like, okay, time to go in. And yeah, that can feel very uncomfortable at first because you're not used to that. You're used to like, this is the truth, this is what I say, and you're gonna listen, and then you're like, wait, but that doesn't feel right. Okay, I guess I got to deal with that, but that's not how life works.
Mhm.
Just because people said so doesn't mean that God did. And so you have to get clear on, the feeling. That's where God is in the feeling. Is it peaceful? Is it loving? Does it bring forth more expansion in your life? Or does it just is it a dead end that you can let go of, right? So I feel like that is really the clear path through these teachings is let yourself explore through the heart. And I feel like that's what proves that these teachings are so powerful is that they always reveal that that is true because they're shared from the heart.
I love that. And I love that. I feel like that's quite a powerful rounding off statement. So I don't have anything to add. So do you have any last thoughts before we wrap up?
I'm all good. Thank you so much. This was a great
Awesome.
conversation. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it's definitely been a great conversation for me as well. And to everybody that's been here with us, thank you for joining us. Also, thank you to Lara and Eve. Their internet has dropped, so that's how they ended up dropping off the call. Thank you again to everybody. Also, please feel free to like and subscribe to our Church of Union YouTube channel. Also, please feel free to donate or tithe to the Church of Union so that we can continue to bring you the teachings of union and content like this on your ascension journey. And we look forward to seeing all of you again soon. Thank you, everybody. And thanks, Ryan. Cheers. See you
Thank you.
soon.
See you soon.
Ciao.